by the next about early afternoon, we arrived at Frankfurt train station, and by this time they had brought in a lot of guards. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we wondered why we had. I think we had there were 14 of us, and I believe we had 8 guards with the 14 of us.
A lot of guards.
Yeah, we thought that was strange that they'd had that many guards. But we got into the bus, and that was to take us to the interrogation center. And they told us on the bus that the reason that they doubled up on the guards was because that 2 weeks previous, there were about 10 or more British airmen were brought to that train station, and the civilians overpowered the guards, got the English airmen, and hung them. So they didn't want anything like that to happen to us. They wanted to get us on where we were going.
Well, I wondered if that wasn't what you were leading to, and I wondered when you said you were at a civilian railroad station if there was any hostility expressed towards you by the civilians who might have been around.
No, the only time that we got hostility from civilians was the day that we got shot down. And they brought us together, brought the 2 of us together, the co-pilot and me. The co-pilot and me. Brought us together in the field. And
these were civilians?
Civilians,
okay.
Yeah. And by that time they sent a policeman out from the local town to bring us in to the jail. But on the way into the jail, the civilians that weren't out in the field working, there must have been about 20 or 30 of them, were standing along on either side of the road that we had to go, this pathway we had to go, and spitting on us and yelling at us. But that's the only civilian mishandling that we got.
Okay. So they put you on a train in Frankfurt and took you.
Well, they put us on. Once we got to Frankfurt, they took us off the train and put us on a streetcar affair, a tracked, like a streetcar.
All right, a trolley.
Trolley, and sent us to the place where we were to be interrogated. It was a center that was put there just for that purpose, to interrogate airmen. And it was not large. It was the building that had the cells in it. It was all solitary confinement. And as far as I know, they didn't have anybody there except the 14 of us.
So up until this point, you had been in community. You were with the other 13, and
yeah,
you could freely talk among one
yeah.
another. And then when you got to this interrogation center in Frankfurt, what was that like?
Well, it was a wooden structure, as I remember, with a long hallway and a cell and cells all along one side of that hallway, and the other side was windows. For the cells, there were no windows except a peephole out through the door where we could see out into the hallway, and where they pushed a small meal to us.
Okay.
And but they took me, and that's all I can really speak for. They took me out 2 or 3 different times with different interrogators to ask me questions about where we came from, where we were based, what squadron, how many planes, what was our target, and all that sort of thing. Which we stone-faced them and just told her, or I did, I think everybody did, name, rank, and serial number. And that was day 1. Day 2, they started out doing something similar. I think I was interrogated 2 more times, and one of them was by a guy who gave me the story that his uncle had been killed by the Nazis, so I didn't have to worry about him because they'd killed him for being in on a plot to kill Hitler. And there had been this plot where you remember
right.
the explosion?
Yeah.
Well, he was telling us that his uncle was involved in that and was executed. So he I could talk to him. Well, of course I didn't, but it made a good story.
I bet it did. So you were there how long?
I was there about a little over a day.
And during the time that you were there, how did they treat you?
Civilly. They might growl at us or something like that, but we were treated pretty well.
Okay. When you left there, I'm assuming you went from there to someplace.
We went there. Just a little aside in this, that when I was let loose, when I was taken out of that cell and told to go over and take a shower in another wing of this building, most of the other 13 guys were out there and had their showers, and it gave everybody a razor and we could shave and all that sort of thing and clean up. Issued us some clothes, and I'd been going around barefooted all that time. I lost my boots when the parachute popped open. So anyway, got some shoes and some different clothes, and a little suitcase and some toiletries. And anyway, I got over there with them, and they were talking about what they had experienced, and all of them swore that they hadn't yet divulged anything. And there was one young guy that got kept another night, and they wondered what he'd been saying. But anyway, the next day they put us on a train and sent us toward Berlin, and we were in, I guess it was just a civilian type plane, train. All of the seats were slats, backs and everything, and there was a place where we could put our luggage up above us in a rack, but no beds. And we were actually on that train for 3 days.
While you were on this train, did you meet up with other captured?
Yeah, the train. I don't really know how many people were on it, but my guess would be that there were probably 50 on the train, and we were all headed for northern Germany. And the first night, we pulled into a railroad station, and the air raid alerts, sirens went on. And all of our guards left the train and went to shelter and left us out in this marshalling yard. And we knew that one of the big targets of that part of the war was to blow up all the rail facilities, particularly at a marshalling yard. So we didn't know whether we were going to survive the night or not. But that happened. The same thing happened to us the next night. But I think it was on the third day we got up to the prison camp. But we did go through Berlin on the way, and there was an alert while we were there.
At any point along the way, had you met with or had any contact with the Red Cross or?
No. We didn't. As close as we got to the Red Cross was that when we got to the prison camp, they had us fill out papers, our name and rank, still serial number, and several other pieces of information they wanted that we didn't give. But anyway, I had to give away a little bit of information, because if you wanted your parents to be informed that you had survived and were in the prison camp, you had to give them your parents' name and address and all. So I did that, and this went to the Red Cross. The Red Cross handled the messages.
Was this information taken by
Germans?
By Germans, with the idea that it was going to be transferred to the Red Cross?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.